But if I do, I'm apologizing in advance. It's never really my intention. Colleagues, we're going to be starting with our program. As we go, between the speakers, we'll give you guys some nice music. I think the more important thing about BMF events, they're just not about the formalities of getting speeches and state of the province, state of the nation addresses. We want a dialogue, so that by the time you sit here, you understand your role in the BMF. By the time we all leave here tonight, all of you here will be BMF members. Those of you who come from other branches, I will give you a grace period to migrate to Mokopane. Don't worry, we'll facilitate. The secretary is very good. We'll make sure that we facilitate that. But I can tell you this. If you leave here today and you don't understand your role in the BMF, what the BMF is, you would have wasted your night. Organizations like the BMF are what actually drives progress in the country. We need organizations that invest in managerial leadership, that deliberately invest in transformation. We need organizations that are going to talk about those conversations that are not so kind, not so easy, that are difficult. They're not your normal dinner type conversations. You need organizations that are going to break that ground, because you only make true progress through this discomfort. Moving from your position of comfort, moving from your position of what you know, what you are used to, what we're comfortable with. Because we all know that position doesn't give us the radical responses that we need. We're still struggling with some of the basic issues as a country. Inequality, for example, poverty, and yet we're supposed to be one of the best developing economies in Africa. And as a whole, as a continent, we're hosting some of the best developing economies. But is it really translating to the day-to-day lives of our people? Is it translating in our lives? Do we see that rapidly developing economy? Is it a tangible thing? Or is it just a philosophical dream where somebody comes and gives you a spreadsheet? We're doing well, we're doing well. This year we've grown the economy by 6.7%. But in your immediate community, things are the same, if not materially worse.
Program Director, thank you very much for the nice and short introduction. BMF members, ranging from national, provincial, to branches. Our honors guests, ranging from the local government, Mogalakwena municipality, under the leadership of Municipal Manager, Mr. Mwepe, Dr. Mdao, and another guest speaker, Isetu Mangoto. Did I say that right? Real Amorela, you are welcome. It gives me great pleasure to deliver the opening remarks of this prestigious event, the relaunching of Mokopane branch. I would like to express my appreciation to the Black Management Forum, and in particular, the members of Mokopane branch, for finally having launched Mokopane as a branch. Can we give a round of applause for that? While many in different spheres of society view leadership as an opportunity to gain, we view it as an opportunity to give, to add value. And we can only add value when we work together towards championing the improvement and the transformation of managerial leadership in South Africa. In the past 18 months or so, it has been anything but business. The overnight transformation and shifts in the world, as we have witnessed, has created much uncertainty. I'm talking about the COVID-19 pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic, as well as the unforeseen and very speedily lockdowns, have created a serious gap in our skills development with regards to technology and the internet. People have lost jobs. People have lost lives. Companies have closed down. But let them not lie to you. The COVID-19 problems that we are facing today, they have been there before COVID. COVID only aggravated the impact that we have. And it is about time that platforms such as BMF formulate policies, make sure branches are working to develop young people in South Africa. One of the values that I value in the DNA of the Black Management Forum, it is the concept of Ubuntu. That motto, ke motho ka motho yo mongwe, requires that for survival and cohesion of human society, we use dialogue, not force, patience, not haste, giving, not taking, creativity, not corruption, research, not disloyalty or daydreaming. This is exactly what captures Black Management Forum. It is one of the core values. Here in our town, Mokopane, and the greater scope of Waterberg region, we need to deliberately strive for leadership and managerial development, business growth, active participation in our local economy, and the upliftment of our communities, because the success of every business has a direct impact on the society in which it exists. We cannot find a situation where a business is thriving and the community is not thriving. There cannot be a mismatch between the two. However, I'm convinced that in this room tonight, it is filled with people who are not here to take, but to add value. People who are ready for serious dialogue, followed by action and transformation in the journey that we are on continuing to champion managerial leadership in Mokopane and the greater society of Waterberg region. Ladies and gentlemen, as they mentioned, my name is Tawan Desmond Matiani. I would like to welcome everyone who's here. Forward to the opportunity to engage and actually make an effect. For that, I thank you and God
bless. All right. Thank you. Guys, you've heard, again, brand new from the box. And it's very deliberate, very direct. We want jobs, we want the economy. MM. A lot of them, they were coming to you. We lady through pass. But he's very right. In actual fact, if you reflect on the history of Mokopane, Mokopane used to be a very hugely industrious area. I told you, don't worry, it's a new branch, the technology, we're getting there. The 5G is getting here, né? So, quickly, we're just going to request Sean Tlatsoyo to come through and quickly acknowledge the guests that are here.
Managers, good evening. Managers, good evening. Thank you so much. I am here to acknowledge our guests. We have a couple of guests who come from near and so far. I will try and read or rather acknowledge each and every one of you by calling your names. So if I happen to miss your name, please pardon me. I will make sure that I pay when we go outside. But before I acknowledge the guests, let me start by acknowledging our Provincial Chair, Mpo, you acknowledge, sir. And then come to my chairperson, Mr. Desmond Matiane, and just to highlight that even as your secretary, even when I am faced with some step-aside circumstances, I am not going to expel you. Managers, we have in our midst today Mr. Mashudu Makoka, a director at Lapalala Wilderness School. Perhaps you can just raise your hand so that I can see you. We have again Mr. Edgar Branston from Sanlam. We have in our midst today Mr. Dipila from Alexandra Fraser. We have again a young pioneer, Donald Kau from Komatsu Mining. And of course, we have our municipal manager, Mr. Mwepe. We have again UIGC CEO, Dr. John Mudau. And of course, we have our group CEO of, our group CEO of Greencar, LTA Group. I'm going to make sure that I pronounce this right. Ms. S.A.2 Mangochwa. Let me again acknowledge the presence of our Provincial Secretary, Remani Malangapuma. I do believe that there are a number of guests that are still making their way in. As they come here, we're going to make sure that we acknowledge them. For now, I thank you.
Thank you so much to our brand new branch secretary and the indemnity that is just given the chairperson. We thank that too. Yeah. Colleagues, we are now moving to the landlord. You know, in our traditional events at home, Barona Lemotwa, who's welcoming people into their homes. The area that we're at is Mohalakwena municipality. And it brings me great pleasure to bring the landlord of this municipality. Can we please give a very nice warm round of applause to the municipal manager, Mr. Ngwepe. And I'm sure the landlord is vaccinated. I have a station for anyone who wants to vaccinate outside.
Program Director, BMF members, the new leadership, Mogalakwena branch, I'm sure it's called Mogalakwena branch. It may not be called Mokopane branch. It should be Mogalakwena branch. Our guests, the ones in my table, you're welcome. Colleagues, I'm not going to say a lot of things. I'm not a politician. I'm an administrator. Because if I take, the stage and talk about politics, on Monday the mayor may call a council and I'll be fired. Yeah, I'm not in a suit. I'll also pay outside. Why? Because I'm not in a suit. I was at work in the farms. Electricity was down. I was just called when I was coming from a funeral in Marble Hall to say that electricity is off. We wanted the manager concerned, they could not get him. So I had to go and look for him so that he could just go and help our community. But having said that, we are in Mogalakwena municipality. This is the biggest municipality in Waterberg. The municipality is situated in the western quadrant of our province with 178 villages, rural villages, with 32 wards and 64 councillors. But as you know, most of you know, there is no one who does not know Mogalakwena municipality in South Africa. There are so many things that are happening in our municipality. The recent one is the one last week, on Monday what happened. You saw it, you observed it, you're part of it, and you make, comments about the situation in which we find ourselves as a municipality. But as you know, this town, Mokopane, is older than Polokwane. If you check the history of this town, because in terms of establishment, this town is older than Polokwane. But you ask yourself a question, why is Polokwane so vibrant? For instance, if you want to do your simple shopping, you go to Polokwane, most of you. You go to Mall of the North, you go to Savannah. If you want entertainment, you go to Polokwane. If you want your kids to play, practice sports, whatever, you go to Polokwane. If you want whatever, soccer, for instance, you want to watch a game, the national game, you go to Polokwane. If you want a house as a young person, BMF people, all of you would like to settle in Polokwane. Why? Because this town is stagnant, it does not grow. Why? Because we made wrong decisions in the past, and those decisions are haunting us now. Hence you see the Hawks and many other people coming in our town, talking bad about it. And remember, we are strategic in location in as far as this town is concerned. Remember, N1 and N11 cross within our town. If you want to go to Zimbabwe, you pass in this town. If you want to go to Botswana, wherever you want to go, in South Africa and beyond, you pass in this town. Are you saying that there are no investors who do not have interest in our town? They are. That is why we are now having and complaining. We are having SAB. SAB, before they went to Polokwane, they passed our town. We could not accommodate them. The smelter, the one that, refines the platinum, the first grade platinum, the smelter. Where is the smelter? The smelter is in Polokwane. But where is the platinum? The platinum is in our municipality. Now, there is, what do you call it? The enterprise. Enterprise, before they did that industrial area in Polokwane, they passed in our town, we could not accommodate them. Coca-Cola, for instance, before they went to Polokwane, they passed in our town, we could not accommodate them. And hence, the town is not growing because of bad decisions that we took in the past. But then, there are also, international, icons that we have within our town. The Makapans Valley Heritage Site, you know it very well. Wits University is doing some research there. University of Cape Town is doing some research there. Master's students, doctorate students are doing research in our Makapans Valley. We are hosting the Waterberg Biosphere Reserve, but the town is stagnant. Why? Because the municipality in the past could not take proper decisions that attract investors in our town. Now, what are we doing to change the scenario? What we are doing, last week, on Friday, yesterday, we were with the newly elected Minister of Water Affairs. We were requesting him to prioritize taking bulk water from either the Hoop Dam or Fleckbushelo Dam in our town, so that the mines that are there, for a fact that there are close to more than 10 licenses that have been awarded to mining houses, but they cannot start mining because there is no bulk water in our town. And we have requested the minister to prioritize that. We had a session with the minister again for them to assist us to augment our, you call it Masodi sewer. You see spillage of sewer in our town. Why? Because the town is growing a bit and the storage system is old, the storage system is small, it cannot carry the load, and we have requested the minister to also, it was the minister David Mahlobo as well as the minister Senzo. Is it Senzo, the water affairs one? Yes. So they have taken it seriously to say that they are going to be assisting us. We'll be having weekly meetings with them so that ultimately investors can be attracted to our town. We know for a fact that Mogalakwena municipality is rich in tourism, is rich in agriculture, is also very rich in mining, and therefore would want to partner with BMF to bring on board our mining houses. For instance, Anglo Platinum Mine, unfortunately, if the municipality does not have capacity to interact with these people, they will never ever come on board and invest in our town. We are engaging also the Ivan Platz mine. We were with them when we were meeting with the minister to say, how do you then come on board and assist us? They raised their concerns about corruption in the municipality. But we said to them, you saw what happened on Monday. People have been arrested. In our municipality in the past, you could call me and say, bring an invoice of 2 million. No, I was cutting trees. I would come and give you that 2.5 million. That was what is true. It's a true story. That was what was happening within the municipality. You could come with a bus and toy in front of the municipality. What do you want? No, I was cleaning the streets there. Where is the invoice? You give me the invoice, I pay you 3 million rand. That is, hence the Hawks are there, assisting us and SIU to make sure that there is order in our municipality. So we are trying, it's not easy. We are trying by all the bells to bring normality to the municipality so that our partnership with everyone else could be able to bring and attract investors in our town. You are all welcome, colleagues. Thank you very much. Let me not talk politics, otherwise I'll be in trouble. Thank you so much.
Thank you, MM. You've heard from the landlord. The municipality is strategically located and has almost every rapidly growing industry. So we have no reason, we have no excuse to not take Mokopane to a higher level. Colleagues, the BMF has been formally welcomed by the landlord. So now it is time for us to give the Provincial Chair. He's the custodian of the BMF in this province, to come and tell us and give you, especially those of you who just need a brief highlight of what really is this BMF that everyone is talking about. Can we please give a huge round of applause for the Provincial Chair, Mr. Mba Scholarships.
Good evening, colleagues. I don't see what is the reason for us to have a band and they don't play. I mean, what's the use? So I'm just going to allow them to play one song, just because I'm just a provincial chair. So, what's the use of having a band? So can you just give us one song, Yana, and the tension area a little bit, and then from there we can be able to, I can proceed.
One, two. Thank you, Jesus. Lost tiding, we're not anai. Lost tiding, hey, we're not anai. Ushaya fish and chips, I ushaya palicha.
A little bit, you see. Look, this is Limpopo. For those who came from Johannesburg, this is Limpopo. Now, in Limpopo, we dance. We are known by dancing. In Limpopo, we are known by playing guitars. In Limpopo, that's us. We are very cultural. So we are very happy. This is the BMF in Limpopo and in Mukopane. Ladies and gentlemen, this group is called Hippo Wakatara. They volunteered, we are not paying them, so they said they want to come and play it. Hence I said, no, we can't leave them. Let them play before we start. Now they will be able to give us another one after, maybe Heke follow her stage. Look, I was born in a very musical family. My father was a musician. Hence, there's blood of music in me. But program director, BMF Limpopo Provincial Leadership, Mr. Mlangapuma, the Secretary, Provincial Secretary is here. The branch of Polokwane, the chairperson of Polokwane branch is here, Ms. Dr. Ngateko is here. Mokopane branch is here, the chairperson of Mokopane branch, Desmond, newly elected, with your Menko and your members. BMF Young Professionals chairperson, Mr. Tlasi Khupa. Starting again. The leadership of a very municipality that is hosting us tonight, represented by the acting municipal manager, Mr. Ngwape. Our guest speaker, BMF Stalwarts and the CEO of UIGC, Dr. Mudau John. Our keynote speaker, member of the BMF Board of Directors and the Group CFO of Grenica LTA Group, Ms. Mangojwa Esetu. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I'm tasked with an item that seems very simple and easy at a face value, but the reality is that it is never easy to describe our organization like BMF. When a question is posed, what is BMF? A lot of things comes to mind, and one starts with to take a thought journey to Wonderland. Along the way, there are stops and detours, cul-de-sacs and highways, robots and toll gates, and sometimes very dark tunnels. However, the good thing is that regardless of the obstacles along the road, with the BMF we always find a way. There are stops and detours, cul-de-sacs and highways, robots and toll gates, and sometimes very dark tunnels. However, the good thing is that regardless of the obstacles along the road, with the BMF we always find a way to reach the desired destination. I have elected to take you through the journey for you to understand what BMF is this evening and the advantages you have in that. I will only focus on what is important for a fear of wasting time, which is the biggest commodity we owe to respect. I will focus on where we come from as an organization, where we are, and our relevance in modern day, and where we are going. Ladies and gentlemen, for us to understand where we are and where we are heading, we need to understand and be in touch with where we come from as an organization. I also do not want to assume that and take it for granted that everyone is in tune with what BMF stands for. The BMF I'm talking about this evening, for which I'm a bona fide member of the Black Management Forum, not the Black Mafia family. So the BMF Foundation can be traced back to 1976, when a group of black individuals came together as a support group to address the challenges of corporate structures in South Africa. This later developed into focus on socio-economic transformation as an imperative aspect of BMF, which could be achieved through the empowerment of previously disadvantaged demographic groups. The aim has always been to overcome a lack of growth for those demographics through the pursuit of socio-economic justice, fairness, and equity. Since its formation, the organization has achieved a lot of things it has set out to achieve. Some of the notable BMF achievements include the following. Its leadership in the area of affirmative action through an affirmative action blueprint of 1993 has assisted many companies in the formation of human resource policies, which advances the process of employment equity. The BMF staff members were at different times appointed to the Department of Labor as directors of employment equity. The BMF played a key role in NETLEC in the negotiation and formation of affirmative action positions, which are incorporated in the Employment Equity Act. The BMF, through its resolution in 1997, originated the Black Economic Empowerment Commission, which was then headed by Cyril Ramaphosa, under the auspices of the organized formation, the Black Business Council. The BMF also participated in the formation of BUSA. Ladies and gentlemen, in a nutshell, that is where we come from as an organization. The next logical question to ask would be, where are we and now as the organization? Now currently, the BMF is a highly motivated organization which maintains a balanced support structure to assist our members through their challenging times. The BMF has continued to facilitate many developmental programs locally and internationally for Black managers, thus contributing to the development of managerial competence. We have a high caliber pool of leading Black managers to keep the BMF on the cutting edge of managerial leadership and transformation in South Africa. Many of today's leaders in government, business, civil society continue to have close links with the BMF. A large number of leaders are still actively involved with the organization. We are a network of highly skilled, dedicated BMF members who continuously provide input to government, business, trade union, and civil society. Further, the organization proactively plays a leading role at all levels of policy formation, strategic planning, other key issues facing the country. Speaking of key issues affecting the country, the BMF is also very active, vocal, and instrumental in finding solutions for the social ills in our country. One of the issues concerned is the increase of the unemployment rate in this country, and it works directly against the desire of the BMF to have an inclusive economy. Be that as it may, it is still the responsibility of every person to come to the party, place themselves in a space where it is a little easier to access opportunities, and the BMF provides that platform for the people to network. We do not move around with bags full of money, but you are probably seated next to a person who has that bag of money. And all you need to do is to introduce yourself to that particular person, and maybe they can give you that bag of money. So maybe you can go to the MM there. People were getting money very easy, you see. Just cutting trees, 3.5 million. No, this municipality is very nice. Who would have managed that we would one day have a situation where a qualified medical doctor will be unemployed? It is very saddening, because that is a very prestigious profession. We never thought the day will come, but it is here. My guess is nobody ever imagines that, but this is the reality we are facing in this country. In the second quarter of this year, the unemployment rate rose to 34.4%. This is the highest jobless rate since comparable data began in 2008. As much unemployment is the sad reality, the other reality is that if you isolate yourself and not join organizations like BMF, you make your chances as winning to be even leaner, because nobody is going to embark on a search for you just to give you an opportunity. It is in this platform such as this, one where people meet, share ideas, exchange contacts, and connect one another, So do yourself a favor and join BMF, and to fully experience the benefit that comes with being a member. The BMF is also committed, in line with one of our key principles, to working for business unity and non-racialism. The BMF is committed to achieving its objective by ensuring appropriate processes in recruitment and selection and promotion within organization, upholding and enhancing the highest professional standards and principles in business and management leadership. BMF leaders and BMF managers are ethical leaders. Mr. Ngwape, BMF leaders are ethical leaders. We pride ourselves that our leaders are ethical. They can be able to, they don't take bribes, they don't do corrupt issues. Assuming the role of an effective voice for the needs, aspirations, and views of its members, facilitating the provision of career guidance services, and facilitating to members and especially students, promoting and maintaining working relationship with the organizations and interest groups that pursued similar objectives to the BMF. So we don't go to any other group. We go to those ones that pursue similar objectives as the BMF ones. Being an effective platform for the exchange of information, views, and experiences through a dynamic forum, facilitating the process of transformation of organizations. Promoting an awareness of the importance of managerial and leadership skills to advancement of meaningful economic participation and empowerment. Monitoring and reporting on the performance of organization in the key areas of transformation. Again, in a nutshell, this is what the BMF is doing. Ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, I will be answering the last question, where is BMF headed? The BMF will continue to work hard to ensure that the objectives of the organization are achieved and its presence continue to be felt in corporate South Africa and in local municipalities. Mokopane has now relaunched. Now it needs to be felt. The municipality is willing to partner with us. So it means let's go and assist them. The role of the BMF is to assist government, because we've got managers who are competent to assist on that sphere. It will continue to extend its hand to form partnerships with other stakeholders to ensure that we build the country that we all want, not only for us, but for the future leaders and managers. I wish to congratulate the Mokopane branch once again. Wish them all the best. With that, leaders, now Mokopane branch is officially launched. It's time for us to work for our members. I thank you.
Let's play.
1, 2. When Tombia miwe
Wonderful, wonderful. Hey, I'll explain that later to everyone who doesn't understand. And I have no musical talent whatsoever, but we must enjoy music. It's a way of expressing our culture, our heritage. So it's very good. You've heard from the branch chairperson of Limpopo, one of the youngest branch chairpersons we're having. So you can see we're intentional about transformation, very much intentional. And it's important to showcase that we not only speak these things, but we action them in the BMF. If you actually look at majority of the corporate board members, young ones, they are products of the BMF, you know. And people, you know this thing, when you get to the top of a mountain and you've conquered and you think you've done it all by yourself, you forget that you have walked on the sacrifices, the blood, the sweat and tears of those who came before. So it is always good for us to remember what the organization has done for the country, what it is doing, and with you, what we can continue to do for our people. So, I'm not going to waste much time. Just quickly, I'm going to read out a short quote from a book that I enjoyed quite well, The Republic by Plato. Now, in The Republic, Plato basically goes through the phenomena of building a nation. And it's very much relevant because today, BMF Mokopane has added on towards building the country. And he says, to become a good guardian, a man must be by nature fast, strong, and a spirited philosopher. He speaks of those three things. He says, for you to become a guardian in building this nation, you must be fast, you must be strong, and you must be a spirited philosopher. The two speak to physique. You know, back in the ages where we had to hunt, gather, these days we do it via Wi-Fi. Not a prime example of those two. But the third one is actually the most relevant of our generation, that we must become spirited philosophers. We must read, we must research, we must produce. You can't be a passive participant in transformation. If you're not doing anything, then you're actually regressing on the milestones of transformation. So this is very much relevant to the next person that I'm going to introduce. As I said, we must give homage to the forebearers. I'm going to call upon currently the UIGC CEO, but we know him best for being the former provincial chairperson of the BMF Limpopo, Dr. John Mudau. Let's give him a nice round of applause.
Thank you, Dr. Dani. I must declare that, disclose that, in fact, I am fully vaccinated. So, and I must also say that I encourage all of you to go and get vaccinated. You know, we cannot allow those who didn't go to school enough to mislead those who have gone to school enough that vaccination is not correct. So, thank you very much, Program Director, and greetings to you, Esetu, and your husband, of course. It's nice having both of you here. Greetings, Chairperson of the BMF. It's my pleasure to be here. Greetings, Secretary of the Province. Greetings, MM. It's nice to meet you. And greetings, the Chair of Polokwane Fest, and the host, Desmond. We are happy to be here. And the entire members of the BMF, and all of you, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. So I have been requested to come and speak as a guest speaker. So I'm not going to spoil the evening by extending my welcome. So I'll make sure that I am as brief as possible so that I don't take the limelight away from the keynote speaker, as it were. So I'm going to behave tonight, Program Director. So I'm excited that I am here. And I must say that I am more excited because I see a lot of people that we were together in the trenches. And as I said to you, it means without disclosing my age, I think I've been in this organization for too long now. In this room, you have 3 people who have served as my administrators when I was in the leadership of the BMF. And the one laughing the loudest is one of them, by the way. So, colleagues, I'm going to just briefly touch on what the chairperson of the province mentioned, which speaks to the origin of this organization. When the BMF was created, those who were there, the Eric Mafunas of those days, they wanted to deal with issues around managerial leadership. And they were very deliberate. They said, we want to address managerial leadership. And I want to give you 2 points on that part. And then I'll go to the last 2 points, and then I sit down. That's how brief I'm going to be. So when they say we want to address managerial leadership and specifically amongst black people, and this came to me when I got this invitation to say, when you are in leadership, it doesn't matter where. Even when you are a leader at your household, you get evaluated. People get to understand your performance. They want to find out whether you have achieved what we have elected you to do, Desmond. And in the BMF, the measuring rod will be against the standard set by the BMF. And of course, it will start from looking into managerial leadership there. So the 2 things very briefly. One, what would we have done as a branch, as members of the BMF, to ensure that you promote managerial leadership? I think you can easily do this, and this is the easiest way, where you can train people can get new skill sets, people can get qualifications, and the BMF allows you to do that. You can participate in programs that the BMF is offering. As the chairperson had indicated, you can go to school, The second part that you can do, and this speaks to you, Mr. Mwape, as well. As managers in the province, and particularly here in Mogalakwena, we must begin to say, what is going to be our role here in Mogalakwena? What are we going to do to assist the municipality? He mentioned this jokingly, and I noticed most of you laughed that there was this scene on Monday where we saw black people being arrested. But that is a manifestation of a bigger problem. And the biggest problem is inefficiency and lack of capacity within these local municipalities. Now, BMF, by its very nature, is comprised and composed of people who are at least well-trained. These are people who are well-trained. Now, it is not correct that Mogalakwena municipality will get an adverse audit finding when BMF is here in this municipality. You need now to reach out to the municipality and say, municipality, how can we assist you? How can we make sure that the skills that we have, they benefit the municipality in general? I can tell you from my experience, and maybe Mr. Mwape wouldn't recall, by the way, this municipality is the first municipality in the province to come up with a development agency. And I was part of that process where we developed a very nice and got adopted. We had an acting CEO, and everybody was happy that the province, the municipality rather, because of its rich in mineral resources, is going to go somewhere. What happened after that is what Mr. Mwape calls bad decisions. But I think BMF, you have the responsibility now to make sure that you work with the municipality. And the municipality have the responsibility to reach out to the BMF and say, BMF, come and help us. And they can do it for free, by the way. I'm not advertising for any tender. BMF members are not tender people. Yeah, we mustn't confuse these things. BMF members are professional people who are ethical leaders, no tenders involved here. And if the new members who came thinking, if the new members who came join and thinking that this is the best time to get a tender, let me tell you, you know what happens in the BMF is that you might end up spending more of your money than what you get from the BMF. So there has to be that balance. You know, I live in Thoyando. I drove it with my own petrol to come here. I'm going to pay for my hotel fees here, and I'll drive back with no worries. And that should be the practice with all of us as BMF members. We should volunteer our time because we are amongst the few privileged black people. And that must be used to extend it to the rest of the other black fellows. The second two last things. During the course of the life of the BMF decided to add a component in its reason for existence. And that spoke to economic empowerment. Now, that became a very big issue, economic empowerment. BMF leaders decided, and that was, if I'm not mistaken, it was at the AGM at Free State, Mangaon, not where this other party meets, the BMF Mangaon kind of conference. So the BMF decided that we need to also deal with economic empowerment. Briefly, I'm going to mention two things and then I sit down. The first one is this. When you get into economic empowerment, you need to look into the issues of participation. Black people, how then do you participate in this economy? How then do you make sure that you are part of the process? I just noted last week that the economy grew by 1.3%, whether that translates to jobs, whether that is below the whatever else that you can think of, I think it's a debate for another day. But I am very optimistic that, you know, our economy will recover, things will be better. But and by the way, I am more upbeat than I was before COVID. I'll tell you why. We need to deliberately think about participation in the economy, and that this should not be accidental. The problem with black people, myself included, of course, is that we somehow want to think that there's somebody sitting at some corner planning our future. And we forget that that person sitting at that very corner is ourselves. Before I give you an example of how you can participate, I was through the BMF, given the opportunity to sit with the Provincial Jewish Board of Governors. Some of you don't know that this thing exists in the province. Something called the Jewish Board of Governors. Now, what does it do? The Board of Governors, the Jewish Board of Governors, they go and sit, and they discuss the economy, the direction. These are Jewish people in South Africa. They discuss where the economy is going. I was requested by the board of the BMF to join them, to go and speak to them about what it is that the BMF is thinking and is intending to do. So I went to the Kruger National Park. At the Kruger National Park, these members of the so-called Jewish Board of Governors, they were sitting there and they were discussing the economy. It was for the first time that I picked up that Jewish people are also participating in the taxi industry. Some of you don't know this. Now, but what is important in that meeting for me was that the Jewish people were sitting there. They were not gossiping about anybody. They were not worried about what the government is doing. They were worried about which sectors of the economy they should participate in. Then they will sit in that forum. Then they will say, you are going to go into construction. You will go into the property. They call it property portfolio or something. Then they allocate people to go there. And then they agree. There, I'm there. It's open. They're not even hiding. In fact, they also encourage me to learn from them. They said to each other, you go into property. But then they don't end there. Then they also come up with a mechanism to support this guy or guys who go into property to make sure that they don't go there and fail. They even have their own fund of some sort where they also assist each other. Guys, if you have time, read about these guys. They are well organized. Why am I bringing them up tonight? I think here in Mukalakwena, these guys who are sitting here, they need to participate in the economy. You know, the board member said made a very good point. I can quote you now. It was before we started. She was speaking to the You guys didn't hear this part. She said because I asked. I said, who is the owner of Ocean Basket? He told us. I said, who is the owner of Spare? He told us. Then SA2 said, but why are these things not owned by local people? She said that, unprovoked. The only way we can participate in this economy is that we need now to be almost formalized and identify as to which sector of the economy we need to participate in. It can't be that you want to be a jack of all trades. We need to know, when I leave Thoyando and I'm driving to everywhere else, and there is something that requires an engineer, I must know which group of people in Mukalakwena are in the engineering space. When there's a big project somewhere, which requires construction, CDB 7, for example, I must know in Mukalakwena where to get that kind of people. When there's a tourism project happening, I must know where to get those people here in Mukalakwena. Don't wait for me to come from Tando and participate in the economy. Organize yourselves and do this thing. And this is how we can take the economy from wherever it is now. The last point. We need also to address the issue of ownership. You know, I argue now that, you know, this is the best time. This is the best time for South Africans, black and white now, to own this economy. For the longest of time, the economy was owned by those who, to them, was almost an inheritance. And they're getting frustrated. You know, this COVID thing, for me, I think it's a blessing. I don't know who brought it here. I don't know how it came about, but I'm happy it is here. It is a blessing. I can tell you now, if I go to that Spare, who you told you who the owner is today, if I go to the owner of Spare tomorrow and say, owner, I am offering to buy this Spare, do you know that I can come back with an offer today? If you go to any hotel, you will come back with a signed offer to buy, because the inheritance wealth is running away. They are thinking that the COVID problem may change the attitude of the consumer, who is us now. And I am saying to we blacks and white people, South African in particular, this is the best time to can buy and participate in any sector of the economy. You can tell me that, you see, the problem with participation is this, that you need funding. I agree. And by the way, I'm very critical about the DFIs in this country. And I must say I'm a beneficiary, because my family participate in the petroleum industry. We are in the food chain, restaurants. So I've benefited. But here's the point. It can't be that you have one black person who benefits there and the rest don't benefit. We need to, now all of us sit together and say, how do we make sure that the majority of black people benefit from this economy? This funding thing that we are complaining about is created by we black people. We created everything. The problem that we have in this country now is no longer apartheid alone. It's the indecisive black leadership. That is a problem. Because you would have a black leader in position of authority to can take a decision. But for them, it takes forever to take a decision. You see, you guys will never meet my PA. Most likely not. When she joined my office, she was from government, and this is a sad reality within government. In government, you have a page that requires a signature, just a signature. That page will sit until there are other 100 other pages on top of it. But the question is why? So when she came, she started doing these things. And I started hearing that, we are waiting for a signature. Well, then I'm thinking, what signature now? Then they said, no, they told us that you were not around the whole week, then there's no signature. No, it doesn't happen like that. What happened? Until we picked up that is really happening in my office. And the genesis of this thing is government. Government has spoiled black people. Black people and yourselves, if there's anybody who works for government here, you will tell me. I saw there's a component about discussion, and I must also disclose, program director, I'm not going to participate. SA2 is here. She will deal with all questions. So I'm free from this discussion thing. But I want to encourage all of us that we need to begin to think that the time to participate, to own the economy is now. Now, I was making the last point on the funding. I am very upset sometimes. I'm getting to a point where if there's an economist here, you are not my friend. And even accountant, SA2. I tell you why. And I have an accountant I see in my house. I am very disappointed with South Africa. This thing that when a poor young person has a business to sell some few chickens there, and this person needs funding from CIFA, this person is forced to come up with a business plan of 20 pages and some cash flow projections. Those things I can tell you standing here, they don't work. Why do we do this thing, CAs? With due respect. Look, I had the opportunity to study abroad. What they found there is that they found your concept. They ask for your concept note. 1 page. You want to sell chickens. How many? 100. And how much do you need? I need 50% of that. Granted. I also had the opportunity to sit behind the desk to evaluate proposals. All my life up to now, I have never seen a single business plan that has a negative cash projection. I've never seen it. They tell you, on the paper they will tell you, you see our business, year 1, it will increase by 50%, year 2, 20%, year 3, 25%. But we all know from Stats SA that small businesses die on the 3rd year. What happened to that 25% growth, which is cumulative 35%? What happened to it? So we are forcing people to get approval on a wrong understanding of business. We should be saying, we as BMF now, we should be going to these DFIs. We should go to CIFA here in Polokwane. We should go to IDC here in Polokwane. We should go to, who am I leaving out? We should go to NEF here in Polokwane and ask the question, how much have you paid out this year? Then they say 1 billion. How much of that went to black people? How much of that went to black women? So that we must not be fooled by the national statistics. We must be happy to understand empowerment as it has happened to us, to people that we live with. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That is Dr. Madau, the former chairperson of the province. Colleagues, he said a mouthful. And the one thing that I don't want to repeat, but we're talking about the realities of deliveries. Where is the money? Chelete kaya bafethu. Nyuku, Zaga. Where's the money? Because year in, year out, money is going out, the economy is not growing, but we are funding something. So where's this money? And I think it's very important that we start agitating towards those questions. The next speaker, everybody, we've had starters, appetizers, and this and that. We're now going to the main course. Our next speaker, I need us to give her something. Welcome her again. She's the group CFO of Grenaka LTA. She must tell us what this Grenaka LTA is. I don't know it. And I don't want to go out there and tell people lies. Sorry. I know the group CFO of Grenaka. What do they do? But she's also a board member of the Black Management Forum. And as we said, BMF is very intentional about transformation. We're putting women first. And we mean it in every sense of the word. If you actually look at the developmental programs that BMF has, more than half of them are deliberately for women. And there's a reason for that. Now, can we give a huge round of applause? And then she'll come in with a nice song for Mrs. Esetu Macmore.
Wow, thank you very much. Is it Hippo Wakatara? Am I saying it correctly? Thank you. Okay, I'm audible. Even before I greet, Dr. John Mudau was hitting me from all angles. Firstly, I'm a CA, which he doesn't seem to like very much. Secondly, I work for government. I'm joining Grenaka on the 1st of October, ladies and gentlemen. I currently work for the Land Bank. And not only that, I work in a funding division called Structured Investments, where I ask you for those projections that he was talking about. So he was hitting me from all angles this evening. To the chair of the branch, Desmond Matiane, the deputy chair, I'm very happy to see ladies, Ms. Nzadi Lebelo, secretary, Delight Sean Tlatrayo, treasurer, Christina Lebelo, and YP Chair Debo Tlatrayo, as well as the provincial chairperson, Mr. Mpho Mutsei, my fellow board member, Mr. Klasi Hopa, Dr. John Mudau, MM. I must say hi to my husband. BMF members, friends of BMF, all the honored guests this evening, I welcome you and I thank you for having me. When I was thinking about what to speak about this evening, I thought of, the economic situation, the unemployment figures, but I thought that sometimes we speak at a macroeconomic level, and it's very important to always come back to say, what is the BMF all about, and where do we fit into this macroeconomic context. I think we all understand the challenges that are faced by the country, jobless growth, unemployment, we've got COVID, there's just a lot happening. But I think as BMF members, I've heard a lot of people saying, what do you guys do besides when a white CEO is hired? You go onto the news and you shout and scream. So I thought it's very important for us to keep reminding ourselves about what actually are the strategic priorities of the BMF, and how do you benefit as a member, or where do you fit in as a member? Because I find we're also not good at explaining what our value proposition really is. And I'm actually glad that that's the topic I chose, because I think it's very fitting for this occasion, where I understand earlier you had the induction of this new branch. And so I think it's very fitting for a branch that is reestablishing itself, and everyone around the room and in this town who really want to understand what the BMF is all about. So I had a presentation. I do understand that this is a new branch, and Mpa was telling me that the technology is coming, ne? It's coming. It's coming. Okay. So I was going to have a presentation on a screen, so colleagues, you'll just have to bear with me. I have it now on my tablet. So I wanted to start with, sorry, let me just figure out how this works. Yes, okay. So the vision of the BMF is really to advance socio-economic transformation towards institutionalized, entrenched transformation and Black excellence in a society that is just, fair, and equitable. What are our strategic objectives that we derive from that vision? And really, those are managerial leadership development, socio-economic transformation, advocacy and lobbying, membership acquisition and retention. So I want to see everybody in this room at the next time I come to Mokopane. Because membership, not only acquisition, but retention is one of our strategic objectives. And then my favorite and the last one, youth and women empowerment. What are we trying to achieve? So what are the outcomes that we desire from these strategic objectives? And those are a pool of suitably qualified BMF-type leaders. And the last time we were here, I think we were in Polokwane, somebody stood up after we had been saying this BMF-type leader, and someone said, what is a BMF-type leader? I actually have no idea what it is. So the way that I would describe it is really to tie it to our values of ubuntu, integrity, creativity, and respect. So if you take those values into every sphere, whether you're in government, whether you're in the private sector, whether you're in civil society, then we expect that if you hold true to those values, you are a BMF-type leader. And Mpo spoke very well earlier that BMF leaders are inherently ethical. And that's a value that we hold very dear. A strong active membership base, and this is in quantity and quality. An active SMME desk, acting as a connector, aggregator, and an opportunity for access to markets. So what we've found in the recent years is that our members are no longer only managers in corporate or in government or in DFIs, but we've got a very strong and active membership base of SMMEs and entrepreneurs, and we need to cater to those as well. Then lastly, programs targeted at advancement of youth and women. So on the managerial leadership development, we want to create development programs and capacity to upskill and empower Black management excellence. And you may ask, how do we actually do this? So some of these initiatives are currently ongoing, and some of them are aspirational. So these are some of the things that we are planning to do to increase our value proposition to our members. So we want to be accredited as a registered professional body, something that we've been working with in the board for quite some time, where we can have NQF accredited courses that we give to our members that you can actually put on your CV and you can actually use to advance your career. Then we want to have flagship BMF development programs and a program specifically for entrepreneurs. We want to avail opportunities for members of the forum to study locally and internationally on scholarships facilitated by the organization. We want to work in conjunction with partners to provide work experience opportunities for student members and unemployed graduates, both within the organization and with identified members and partners. We know the problem we have about unemployed graduates and the gap between what the market is demanding and what our institutions of higher learning are actually producing. So as BMF, we'd like to bridge this gap together with partners. Then we'd also like to negotiate exchange programs facilitated by the organizations with leading universities, both locally and internationally. In terms of advancing socioeconomic transformation, this is a very broad objective. So in order to really distill it into something tangible, I would say really what we're trying to achieve is to do cutting-edge research. So research, colleagues, is a very important aspect of an organization like ourselves. You see the likes of AfriForum very good at research. And using that research even to then challenge some of the BEE legislation in our courts. And actually the third item I'm going to put under socioeconomic transformation is monitoring. So we need to play an active role in monitoring the transformation landscape in South Africa and continuing to work with the JSE to reform listed entities and monitor members' transformation progress and periodically provide constructive guidance. The reason I'm saying this is what we've seen lately, and I don't know if you've noticed, but you've got the likes of AfriForums going to court to challenge the BEE legislation. And if you look at it in isolation, during COVID, they challenged the fact that SMME funding that was going to assist SMMEs affected by COVID, there was going to be a BEE requirement. They went to court and they challenged that. They go to court and they challenge employment equity. They go to court and they challenge the ownership. So all the aspects that make up the BEE legislation, they're going to court and challenging them. And they lose very few and they win a lot. And if we don't monitor this, the progress that we're making, but also these setbacks, before we know it, we'll have BEE legislation being declared as unconstitutional. So we need to be very vigilant about this. Then lobbying and policy enforcement. What we do as the BMF, but what we need to do more of, is to convene multi-stakeholder forums across sectors to influence and actively lobby for reform in sectors and industries that are not compliant. Dr. Mudau was saying we can't be jacks of all trades. We need to target specific sectors in the economy, either because they are strategic sectors. So we know in South Africa, mining is a strategic sector and it is going to be for a long time. Tourism is a strategic sector because we simply have a competitive advantage and a comparative advantage. As we were driving here, we were just marveling at the beauty of this country. So tourism for us is a strategic sector. Agriculture is a strategic sector. Manufacturing, we're trying to get it to be a strategic sector, but I think we let China overtake us a long time ago. But what I'm saying, colleagues, is that we need to target those sectors that are either strategic or high growth sectors. When I say high growth, I'm talking about sectors like ICT. And within those sectors, we then lobby for policy enforcement. We then lobby to have black people in senior management positions. We then lobby to have women and youth in senior management positions and sitting on boards in those strategic sectors. Because I think if we try to be too broad and be a jack of all trades, we get lost in terms of our impact and our focus. In terms of advocacy and lobbying, we need to actively engage our stakeholders. And we cannot run away from the fact that government and the ruling party and other political parties are stakeholders in this economy and in this country. We need to participate in industry policy formulation initiatives, those targeted industries that we as the BMF decide to focus on. We need to maintain close affiliations with our key stakeholders and working relationship with organized labor to advance tangible and sustainable transformation. We need to be a thought leader. We say we're a thought leader. And I've seen lately, I don't know if you've seen Umonde Ndlovu, Oprah Lot Ndlovu's son, has started publishing thought pieces and opinion pieces in newspapers, which is absolutely beautiful. Because to be a thought leader, You need to get out there. You need people to understand the BMF's position on key strategic transformational issues. And he started doing that, but it can't be a Monday thing. We have to get those thought pieces out of Mokopane branch. We have to get those thought pieces out of Mthatha branch, where I come from. We have to get those thought pieces out of Cape Town branch, PE branch, Durban branch, so that the BMF is recognized as a thought leader on all things transformation and inclusivity in this country. The fourth strategic priority is about growing the active membership. And I think when we get to the section of engagement, where we're doing a question and answer session, this is where I'd like really for colleagues around the room to also express what it is that they would like from the BMF, to make them feel like there's a value add. What is the value proposition that you are looking for? Because we as the board and as the leadership, we can sit and convince each other of what we think the value proposition is, but we do need to hear from our members. So what we have been working on is to refresh our membership value proposition. There's an urgent need to refresh membership offerings across all lines, which is YP, the mother body, if I can put it like that, as well as for our corporate members. It is a very highly competitive, I won't say market, but there are many organizations, and as the BMF, we need to remain extremely relevant to our members. Otherwise, that goal of membership retention, we actually see that we struggle with it. People tend to come back in an elective year, which this is. But between elective years, you see the membership dwindling, and it can only be because I don't see the value in paying my 743 Rand, and we need to actively address that. Then we need a segmentation review. So as I was saying, as part of building a more compelling value proposition, we need to understand our members. So as I was saying, it used to be managers, whether you're working in government, SOE, or corporate. But we've got young people, we've got YP, we've got student chapter, we've got entrepreneurs, and SMMEs. And each of those segments need a specific value proposition. So that segmentation is something that we need to focus on so that we address the needs of the different segments. Then we need members/brand ambassadors. So colleagues, I'm always harping on about this, and I think people think I'm crazy. But I always make an example that if I post myself here this evening on Instagram, I will have about 5 people asking how to join the BMF. If they see me at the CUD at the Sandton Convention Center, they want to know, how do we get onto the guest list of next year's CUD? And I say, well, I've got a membership form on my WhatsApp that I send people. I tell them to fill it out, send it back to me, make the payment, send me the proof of payment, and I'll facilitate everything for them. So what I'm saying is we need to be brand ambassadors of our own organization, and I think we don't do that enough. When I first joined the BMF and I asked, why is our social media presence so bad? Because most people are on their phones all the time. And I was told, BMF members are not social media people. I don't know, guys. Are you guys not social media people? Because I'm a social media person. So we need to become each and every one of us, brand ambassadors for the BMF. We need to post ourselves on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, and that's how people get attracted to things these days. That's why we have influencers who get paid a lot of money to wear a Gucci, whatever. That's the psyche of people today, given how social media has impacted our lives. And we can't be left out as BMF sending emails. No. Then my last and final strategic objective is the youth and women empowerment. And this is obviously very close to my heart. I stopped being youth this year. I'm 36, by the way. But I'm still a woman, and I think I'm still youthful, so I'm straddling this youth thing. I haven't quite But I think for me, colleagues, we want representation of youth and women in all levels of society: corporate, business, on boards, on excos, in government, in civil society, in academia, in the judiciary. Is that list complete, Dr. Muta? Okay. We want representation of youth and women in every level and sector of society. It is often said that the board in an organization sets the tone. The board is what provides effective and ethical leadership, but also provides strategic direction to an organization. But what you see is what I call recycling. So we've got the people that we love who are BMF stalwarts. I don't know if I'll call them by name. Let me be brave and call them by name. Obabu Ruel Koza, we love them very much. My personal favorite lady that I've looked up to since I was a young article clerk, Sisindi Mabaso Koyana, I love her very much. I'm trying to think of the people who, but my point is that you see those people on every single board. Our favorite stalwart, Babu Bonang Mohale as well. They are amazing people. They are absolutely amazing people who I'm very proud to be associated with. But you can't have a Bonang, a Cindy, a Ruel on every single board in the country. When are we going to have ourselves start to come through into these boards so that there's not just a black-white mix, because the transformation is often seen as the board must become more black. Yes, the next thing is the board must become more female. But beyond that, the board must become younger. So there must also be a mix of young and old. Otherwise, you've got a generation who think alike, who came to be, at the same time, came into corporate at the same time when the ANC wanted intellectuals or wanted business people. So they all think the same. They all come from the same era, and yet there is a whole breed of people who are coming up underneath them, who need, firstly, for them to hold our hands before they actually reach the ages where they will gracefully exit. So that's something that really, for me personally, it's a passion project that we need not only gender, but also age, diversity in boards and in excos. The composition must change to be reflective of the SA population. So I was listening to Babu Bonang this morning on a podcast he sent me, and he was saying that 51% of the population is women. But if you look in senior leadership, 24% is women and 4% is Black African women. So those stats have got to start changing. We cannot have 4% of the of people in senior leadership positions being Black African women. We need to create a pool and a pipeline of youth and women leaders. Another passion project of mine in the BMF is, when we say we don't want Andre de Ruyter at Eskom, we must then say, here is Glasihope, here is whoever. So it puts us on a bit of a back foot when we shout from the rooftops that we don't want this white male. And then the Newsroom Africa or ENCA presenter will say, so who do you want? And then we don't have an answer. So we need to create that pool and that pipeline of Black, and I'm not excluding males, females, and young people who we will put up our hands and say, these are the options that we have. They are qualified, they are certified directors. We've put them through IODSA, we've put them through Gibbs MBAs, we've put them through Women in Power programs. They are ready. And these are the people who we're saying we want in these positions. Ladies and gentlemen, lastly, I don't like being long, my husband knows. The other day, I was in a webinar and I was asked a question. It was about leadership, business leadership in general. And we're asked, why does the BMF need women leaders? I'm not sure how the question was phrased, but it was something like that. Why is there a need? We keep talking about it, but do we really understand why? And my answer was, the 2020 finalists for the Global Citizen World Leader were all women. I think it was 4 women, or 5, who had led with distinction during the coronavirus pandemic. The prize went to leaders across government, business, entertainment, philanthropy, and more. But the criteria was that these women are creating a world that is fair, just, and equal for all, which is a world we all want to live in. I think the prize went to German Chancellor Angela Merkel, which is the equivalent of a president. And these female leaders all have one trait in common, and this comes down to how they tackle problems. And in decision making, it has been shown that women lean on a more interpersonal approach, whereas men tend to be more task orientated. And that's not taking away from men, but women tend to have a more interpersonal approach. What does that mean? It means in a COVID world, when people are afraid, when people are grieving, when people are sick, when people are worried about financial security, when people are losing jobs, what they want actually is empathy. What they want is psychological safety. What they want is an emotionally intelligent leader who will be able to be empathetic and relate to you at an interpersonal level. And that's why the likes of Angela Merkel handled the coronavirus pandemic in Germany absolutely with distinction. They say that she did it by being very clear about what needed to be done. But she was also very clear about what was known and what was not known. So she was open and honest that this is what we know thus far, this is what we're still trying to find out. I'm going to take the Germans on the journey as we all try to figure this out. But I'm going to provide you with an environment of a certain level of safety in a world that in 2020 basically went crazy. So colleagues, that's why, one of the reasons why we need women in leadership and why we need women leaders in the BMF. The other reason is because representation matters. And I think when we say that, we don't quite understand what it means. I remember when Zosi Tunzi won Miss South Africa and then Miss Universe, a girl from Kutsolo, where I'm from, by the way, shine, who had a brush cut with a line on the side, who was dark in complexion. She wasn't a yellow bone with a weave up to her waistline. And when girls who had perceived themselves as not beautiful or not subscribing to the societal standard of beauty saw Zosi Tunzi, they suddenly believed that they could be Miss South Africa. When I was a young chartered accountant and I saw Cindy Mabaso Koyana, Cindy Zilwa, a lot of Ononkuleko Kobodo, the Gloria Sirobes of the world, the Wendy Luhabes of the world, even if they weren't chartered accountants, but being successful in corporate South Africa, it made me believe that I could be successful in corporate South Africa. Something as simple as when your child goes to school and sees only white teachers, that teaches your child that people in positions of authority are white. So that's why in the BMF, it's very important that women emerge as leaders. I was asking Umpo, who else is in the Manco? Because I only saw Uchepesin, no ace of the no ace of the province. And I wanted to know, because in the BMF, we have a policy where if the president is male, the deputy president must be female. But if the president is female, then we can have another female as well, we don't mind. And similarly at provincial level and at branch level and everywhere. So that's why I wanted to know, where are the females in this Manco? And I think that is a very progressive step that the BMF has made. Most organizations pay lip service to this. We have it in our MOI. So it is legislated that we will have gender parity. So I think that is a wonderful step for the BMF that I'm very grateful for. Colleagues, I come to the end of my discussion with you. I do understand we're going to have a question and answer session, which I very much look forward to, because this is not about me preaching to you, but it is about us having an engagement. I hope that you understand better the strategic priorities of the BMF What initiatives give life to those strategic priorities so that it's not just a document sitting gathering dust, and how you as a member can actually benefit from the BMF. And if you haven't quite picked up or you still have questions, I'm going to invite my fellow board members, Mr. Mpomutse, Mr. Klasikhopa, and the leadership of the branch to assist me as we open for engagements. Thank you very, very much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure being with you this evening.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, no. Before we open for discussions, I need you guys, they must break the silence. I told you this is an engagement, ne? So now we're going to allow for questions and answers. The questions that you need to ask, they not necessarily need to be specific only to what you've picked up in the keynote address. Label Dr. Madawi and everybody else. But for the purpose of time, do keep the questions brief, short, like a mini-skirt. Please, don't give a state of the province, and you understand what I'm saying, because we want to give each other equal opportunity. And then we'll have the roaming mics.
Bayamula yewena bariki mulo iloyi awa machachi ya na bonkhunu barena nako kwakalo ya abasalo yahle ke badimo barona abar impalisa yitsi mo baloyi batletsentena ke re ba ruteile thata we ba go di collegeng le di university awa machachi ya na bonkgono ba rona abasalo yahle ke badimo ba rona impalisa yitsi mo baloyi ba tletsentena ke re ke ba ba bila thata weye ba tlola ka awa machachi ya na bonkgono ba rona abasalo yahle ke badimo ba rona ba hey, yeah, hey, yeah, 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 yeah. Batla fetsa le rona wewe, batla loya wena. Batla fetsa le rona wewe. Ska ba bona ka bobotse. Ay ay ay. Batla fetsa le rona wewe.
Yeah, Rasata Ipina. Hey, the roaming mics. Can I get my secretary and assist with the roaming mics? Guys, raise your hands. Pose your question. Let me break the ice. You raise your hand, who come with the roaming mic, you pose your question, and any of the speakers will feel free to take upon. My question is emanating from the crisis that we have. We have a record level youth unemployment in South Africa, where the youth are close to being majority. Actually, if you look at age sector, we are the majority in the country. Now, we are facing two big problems. The shrinking economy, industries that are not developing well, universities producing the wrong graduates for what is demanded, and then you have these guys that are stuck in the middle. They've inherited debt, have degrees they can't use. And what do we then do with these guys? They're educated. By all measure, they're very much educated. How do we incorporate these guys into this new economy? And mind you, I don't want to go philosophical, but we also have this problem of an overly capitalistic society in an open market economy where the majority of the people can't participate because they lack the resources. So how do we then navigate with that? It's brutal, because what we eventually get is venture capitalists who come and own up to whatever idea, whatever innovation, whatever research we're going to have. And where does that leave us? So if somebody can help me address that, we've been struggling with that for a very long time. And I'm young, and I blame the old people. I do. I'm an angry young person. You know, I know they'll say, no, you have no right. But you guys were there before us. You signed the agreements, these sunset clauses and funny things. Yes, the context might have been different, but how do we deal with it today without being angry, so that we can find a practical solution? Because being angry doesn't help anybody. I don't want to say, but not saying we, but you know. But where did it get us? So we don't need angry people. We need organized, focused people. How are we going to solve that problem? That is the first question. And guys, don't worry. Let's pose the other questions. One of the keynote speakers will take this. Sanitize. Ask them if they're vaccinated. If you're not vaccinated, no question.
My question is somehow related to yours. I'm not going to say the surname. Mrs. Asetu touched a bit on education and institutions of higher learning. If we check today the caliber of students who go to TVET colleges and those who go to universities, there's a huge difference. There's a huge gap in between the two, because mostly the ones who go to TVET colleges are the rejects. They are the ones who, some of them, the high school is tired of them. They are of overage. They send them to institution and to the TVET colleges. They mostly do not even have an idea of what is it that they want to do there at that college, compared to the university students. Then how then do we, or how does the BMF maybe get involved in terms of subjects offered, not only at the universities? It should start from primary high school. Because once we go to universities, it's too late already. Let's start down the ground. Let's check our government schools compared to private schools. There's a huge gap between the two. How do we bring these two together? Thank you.
Right, next question, and then we'll allow the...
I'm vaccinated. Yeah. I was actually not going to say anything, but I think the previous speaker that spoke, she stirred it within me. Then. So the reality is this. We've inherited an education system that stems before freedom, even before we were born, whereby what the education system is actually just producing people that are workers. Not people that are thought leaders, not people that are out there to actually be change makers in this world. So I think what she said is highly important, but I also want to know, for some of us that have been through this education system, but also have dreams of this prosperous South Africa, and the anger that you see in us as the youth, I think is fueled mostly by the fact that what we want to see and what we're seeing and what we're experiencing, we're not being geared for where we want to be. What do we do? in all levels, I want to know, not only for us as youth, but also our elders, how are they going to help us get into those places? How are they going to make sure that the education system is geared for the right things? That it's not only about knowing 1 + 1 is 2, knowing the whole timetable. I mean, you don't have to be great at maths to achieve great things and to actually be the change makers in our society. How do we make people understand that irrespective of your subject choices, your whatever, you're valuable in this society? As BMF, how are we ensuring that we are gearing up people for the change we want?
Right. Thank you. One last question, and then we are going to now answer. You don't want them to forget the questions.
Thank you very much, Program Director, as well as the branch of Mokopane for the opportunity. I think I'm going to add on what Mama has said here. My question emanates from answering to the question of what informs our educational system. I feel like there is a gap between what the market requires and what we are producing as learners. That's why we end up having that challenge of having an influx of people going into the marketplace and end up being rejected because they do not possess that which is required. And I feel like somewhere, somehow, we have the likes of SAICA who have stepped in to ensure that such does not happen. Because you would understand that for an institution of higher learning to offer your chartered accountancy, they will have to be accredited by SAICA. So SAICA kind of informs the curriculum that must be offered. So I was of the view that if you could have each and every discipline, you'd have your law, your public administration, and all these other institutions developing their own institution that will speak to the requirements of what is needed in that particular program that one is studying. So I think somewhere, somehow, we might have not dealt with all the problems, but then partially would have contributed and shown radical actions towards achieving that. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Let's take the roaming mic now to get the answers. We can start, because it's it.
I think I want to speak about the question to say, how are we as BMF ensuring that we are gearing, I think your message was gearing up people for the change we want, or to make people to be change makers and not just to be workers, I think was your question. So I think in an organization like BMF, you've got programs like Young Professional Development Program, Women in Power Program, which is a leadership program. So it's not just about what you learned at school, but it's actually about your leadership skills, your understanding yourself as a leader, how you show up, how to maximize on the technical knowledge that you've learned in school. So there have been women who go to Women in Power program and come back completely changed as a leader of society, as a leader of an organization, as a leader of a corporate or in government. Then we provide, I think it was 5 last year, but Classy, how many MBA scholarships for Gibbs do we have this year? It's increased from 5, right? Then I know BMF Midrand, which is my branch, has an innovation program for BMF members who are in tech and ICT and sponsored by Standard Bank, and there's awards, etc. And there's training. There's also networking opportunities that the organization provides. So there's actually a lot that the organization provides. I think it's about members, number one, tapping into those programs. But number two, what I've found in the BMF is that if you have an idea as to what would actually benefit you, you actually have a lot of space and opportunity in an organization like the BMF to speak to through your branch, to your provincial chairperson, who actually represents you on the board, has a direct line even to national office. And I've seen programs born out of nothing, where but you have to take the initiative. And I think as this kind of generation, we often don't take the initiative. I've seen the board go recently to an Institute of Directors program to become certified directors. But to do that, do you know that we had to phone the office and remind Phil and remind Kulu and remind that we want to do this? So because we wanted to do it so badly, the BMF will go and raise the money and speak to IODSA and get the board members through that program. And we actually want to roll out that certified director program to the rest of our members. So what I'm saying is there are programs that the organization offers because that's what we think that people need. But we also need to take initiative and say, this is what I want as a member of the BMF. This is what would benefit me as a member of the BMF. And then check if you cannot get that program to be sponsored and to be piloted through the BMF. And I think you will be very surprised to find that there's a lot of space and room to hear from you what it is that you want, that you think will make you, as Osisi said, will make you this change maker that you want to be, and will make you this person that can go out into the world and make and be the change that you want to see. Thanks.
This is becoming difficult now because I had made a disclaimer earlier that the comments and questions, discussions, SAT will take care of them. And I must say, colleagues, that when she speaks on those issues, you can tell, that this is a member of the board speaking. You can tell that, of course, this is the president in the making speaking. So it's unlike me, So I'm just making noise. Here's the noise now. So there's a point made about the missing middle, and this is what Dr. Dan is saying. I'm going to be very abstract about this answer. You see, the mistake we made in South Africa, and you will recall that we had what we call the National Development Plan. Most of you would know about it. And that gave us a 30-year sort of view of where South Africa will be. And then came, somebody called it, the MM called it Polokwane, a disaster, but I don't want to get involved there. The issue is this. We, as a country, have lost the vision and also the aspiration of what we want to become. And I would want to encourage Prime Director that we should not look at South Africa in terms of the youth versus the rest. This is, we now know that 61% of the unemployed people in this country are young people. That is given, it's there, it's in statistics. But what we need to do is to say, young people, as Ed was saying, young people, apart from the support you will get from the Black Management Forum, how else do you think you want to participate? Both in the mainstream economy and also in your own small corner. Because somebody has to start somewhere. Somebody has to, even if it means saying and doing the wrong things, somebody has to start somewhere. And that cannot be left for government. It cannot also be left for the Black Management Forum. It can't be left for the youth. But I don't know on whom this shall be a burden. But I think we need all of us to say, this is the challenge that we have. Our graduates, we did, way back, we did a quick survey and we picked up that there are so many graduates who are unemployed. And know what was said? The majority of them were from the financial training background. You still have people who would have your BCom accounting, BCom business. They are unemployed. And these are rare skills. These are people that you need in order to understand where the economy should go. But let aside the issue around the business plan. There are bigger issues that they deal with these people. So I think it should be a combined vision. The next point is this. The SETAs that government has put up, they are meant to address precisely the point raised by the chair of Polokwane, that you have people who have skills that when you look at them, you might think these skills are absolute or are no longer relevant. Now the SETA has to retrain those people. You need the SETA to make sure that you are retrained into the relevant and you now meet the expectations of government. The business community has also let us down because they sat back and expected training institutions to give them a perfect fit on a young person who will come out of that. And when this person comes and then it's not what they expected, they get surprised. The last point, can I go back to my notes? Sorry, that point I noted it down. Yeah, there was an issue around the expectations. You know, I want to advise all of us sitting here that the youth of 1976, they played their role. You know what happened in Robben Island? And this is the story that people don't tell us. When people were in Robben Island, they were going through hardships, but what they were doing very good, they were training each other for the future. You get a guy who goes in there because he was violent outside, and this guy was a thug, then they arrest him, they think this guy is a comrade. But when he got into Robben Island, they retrained this person in terms of the thinking and the skills. That's why you had people who came out of Robben Island who were judges. People come qualified lawyers. People came out of Robben Island without having been to school, but they were able to speak better English than you who went to school. They're able to read and write. This is a community thing that all of us should do. It doesn't matter where we are. We need to get together and say, as a community, this is what we do. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm tempted to take 2 more hands. 2 more. They're not there. Comrades, colleagues, compatriots. There's a follow-up there or a new question.
No, it's a new question.
It's a new question. Introduce yourself. We want to know you.
I'm Katichari Chibit, a member of the BMF. Dr. Mdawu touched on the laziness of people from the government. I had an opportunity of working in the private sector, and it's totally different to the government. Government employees are lazy, yes, and they resist change. COVID came, and people now need to change and start using computers, doing things online. People are resisting. How does one motivate these kind of people who are resisting the change that we see today? Thank you.
The chair of Mokopane, and there's a disclaimer, colleagues, I'm also a government employee, but I'm a BMF type government employee.
Thank you, Program Director. We mentioned and we spoke about the high unemployment rate of graduates. Now that simply tells us one thing. They can't become BMF members. Yeah, they can't pay 745. That's a fact. What are we doing as BMF to tap into that space? What can we do to tap into that space? Because there's a wealth of knowledge there, people that we need to train to become participants of the very same economy that we're talking about. Thank you very much.
Leadership. We're closing. The cure for COVID might be lying somewhere in the brain of an unemployed child. Now, what are we going to do as BMF to have access to that intellect? Say, hey, mind-boggling. Hey, who's answering? Okay.
Thanks for the question. So I work until the 30th of September in a state-owned entity. And one thing I've noticed, you see, there's something called human behavior, which means that generally a human being responds to certain incentives or disincentives. In government institutions, be it SOE or in the departments, I actually haven't, and I've been in my SOE for 5 years. No one has ever been dismissed for non-performance, ever. You need to commit fraud, and even there, like real fraud, in order to get to get dismissed. But no one has ever been dismissed for non-performance. And the human condition, and yes, there are people who fall outside of this generalization that I'm making, but generally, the human condition says that if I sit here and I don't perform, and there's no disincentive for me not to perform, there's also no incentive for me to perform. So we used to get bonuses, etc. Then the organization got into a huge issue, and we didn't have increases and we didn't have bonuses. And what you find is that the performance levels literally went through the floor because there is no incentive for performing. So why am I working 10 hours a day when the person who's working 4 hours a day or 2 hours a day or just checking their emails every now and then while watching Netflix is going to get their salary at the end of the month, just like I'm going to get my salary at the end of the month? So I don't have enough of an incentive, neither do I have enough of a disincentive. So I'm not going to get fired for non-performance. My performance review, I don't even care whether it comes out as a 2 out of 5, because what are you going to do to me when it's a 2? I mean, I've seen people come into an organization, rearing with energy, having ideas, wanting to do things. And there's a saying in management studies that says, culture eats strategy for breakfast. You can have the best strategy, but the culture of an organization swallows people up. So you find somebody coming from the private sector, coming to an SOE, I want to contribute, I want to this, I've got these ideas, I'm so energized. Watch that person 6 months later. They start by arriving at the office at 8 o'clock, and they're the first person in the office. Then they realize, maybe if I try 8:30, and they're still the first person in the office. So then they start coming at 9, because why should they come at 8 when everybody else comes at 9 or at 10? Those are the small incremental things, similar with what I'm saying about why should I pull an all-nighter to deliver something on time when I know that whether I deliver that thing on time or not, nothing's going to happen. So that is, and the private sector, that's how they get people to perform. Yes, it's very transactional. You perform, I give you a bonus. You perform, I give you an increase. But generally, the human condition responds. That's why even kids respond to reward or disincentive. I'm going to take away your phone. I'm going to take away your whatever. And that's what we don't have in the public sector. And so the human condition will divert to the lowest common denominator. So when you say, how do you get people to respond to change, now we're going digital, etc., you need to incentivize them to do so. Otherwise, they will never do so, because what's the point? What do I benefit? That's what people are looking for, and that's how private sector organizations drive a high-performance culture. And in public sector, we lack a high-performance culture, and culture will eat strategy for breakfast any day. And I think that's mainly where the problem lies. Thanks.
All right. Classy.
Thank you, my leader. Mine, I don't think is just too long. To respond on the issues that you graduate, you sit at home, BMF still need people to be the members. What do we do? Young professionals of these days have created the program called the Graduate Alumni. A graduate alumni program, it is meant specifically for what the chairperson of Mokopane has raised. It is a program whereby the graduates list themselves on that database. They become a member of a BMF branch as a graduate program member, but not as a listed member of the BMF, not ordinary members, not as young professionals. You are listed on the pipeline to be a member. Up until the time that you are able to pay your membership, then you are elevated to all the benefits of the BMF member has. So that program meant to keep the members to not disallocate themselves from the BMF, but to be partnered with BMF all the time. And therefore, their benefits is to attend events. They don't vote in the meetings. They don't do voted in or lead in any programs of the BMF because they're not yet members of the BMF. So we place them there as a waiting list. There's a waiting list of some sort up until we elevate them to the ranks of the BMF. That's it in short. If it is not happening at Mokopane, get in touch with myself as well. We have rolled it out, in fact, across the provinces. Our reception was that people have been listing, and therefore the consolidation is done at the national office. We know when you are studying at University of Limpopo, but originally you are from Eastern Cape. Therefore, your information will be sent to the next branch where you are from, so that they can keep close eye of yourselves that side. That's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We're now moving. I think everybody is satisfied with the answers. I'm very happy about addressing the issue of government performance. But I want to say as an example, see, this is what we're demonstrating as an example. We need, when people come into government, and this is very important, because the only way we're going to have practical links with the masses of our people is through government. We need a strong, functional, competent government. There's no two ways about it. There's no way we're going to run this country with a highly overpowered private sector and a weak government. It can't happen. There's no country right now where we can say this country is going on the right trajectory and we have a private sector overpowering the government sector. So the government is first and foremost the most important sector that we must safeguard, where we must send our best. This thing, you know the thing, it must stop. And one of the key things is that we maybe as government, we need to start looking at this thing of stopping appointing people on permanent and put them on performance-based contracts. Every 5 years, earn your bread, earn your position, earn your title. You know this thing, I'm here forever. I'm going to be an ancestor. Those things must stop. No, it's true. It's true. And in actual fact, those are the people that give us problems. Because they get there and they create a bottleneck. They don't want to leave. Actually, they have no ambitions. They don't want to go upwards. This guy is a manager for 30 years. Unproductive, uncreative, frustrating young creative people. So that's what we've been seeing. So I think that we need to change the tone of what it is that government can do and what our people can achieve. A majority of the research in health, by the way, is coming from government sector. All your specialists, when you take out your Discovery Platinum Plus Plus and you go to any specialist in this country, they're proudly trained by the government. So the first heart transplant, we've seen there was a doctor who's cured deafness by transplanting bone into the inner ear, blah, blah, I don't even want to, but he's in government. Professor Chifularu, he's in government. So I'm just saying that other sectors are doing so well while leading the country. Why do you think that everyone is bringing clinical trials here? Do you think they like us? No, we have a well-oiled machinery. It's just that in other sectors, we need to get it there. We really need to. In education, can't be telling me that a teacher still takes a book, consumes it, has no idea who the authors are, what the references of the material are, and what is the impact of what they're teaching children. and we're okay with that. If we can produce world-class doctors, why are we not producing world-class teachers? So the sectors that are not performing well, everybody must go on contract. Please. Comrades from SATU, I will apologize on Monday. I am still with you, I'm still with you, viva comrades. But it is true, it's a sad reality. But we've come to that point. On that note, I want us to go, we're almost done. I know people are, you get hungry, you start imagining things, what the meal is going to be like. We're almost there. So I want us to give we're going for a special part of the agenda. We're going to have a book review. I already told you, this is what BMF leaders are doing, And now you can't even write a proper CV. People are publishing. They are authors. They sit at home, concentrate thoughts, and put it out. So this is a very huge achievement. Let's give a huge round of applause to Mr. Klasi Khopa. He's actually Captain Klasi Khopa. He's dressed like a chief today. And the MM said we have 140-something villages. If we can find a vacancy, we have a BMF type chief. Please, let's give him another round of applause. Klasi.
Ke go ba sarala methapera fa ga bednama ke motho wa botjantji wa mangana borantseke ke motho wa bomosa ga itshegelele shilo go sa go le lelego ke motho wa bomokwela kwanadi nkoletša bogadi ke sa le gole ke koloba biatladi. Once I'm out of the Limpopo province on N1 to the other sides, they call me Ingulube. So ke kolobe in nutshells. I'm from the Hopatland, whereby we originated from the Bakalanga. That those who knows the receptions of Bakalangas in history, and therefore Bakalaka, Banabaji Halaka. But tonight we are not going to be speaking about tribes. Ours is about a big review. The review of the book, which I'm talking about, is this one, called Sagailwa Gemushad. Sagailwa Gemushad Managers is a book written in a Northern Sotho language. It's a Spedi language speaking. The author of the book decided to disseminate from other languages and decide to promote Spedi speaking language. The major purpose was to protect the culture of the African people in storytelling in our own African language. We hope we can even convert it into English. But the major purpose was that most of people that are writing today, especially young, they write in English language. They don't write from the languages where they come from. So we need to protect our own languages. That is why we decided to go to write about it. So Sagailwa Gemushadi, in its meaning, it says, it's an unfair treatment by the traditional authorities. So in this book, which is a Spedi novel, the writer decided to narrate and utilize this person who is a very elegant and very person who all the time causes conflicts and fightings within the area where they come from, which is a village area. And these conflicts and the fights caused are really related to the person next into the family, to the aunt. So in this book, the author says the aunt was owning the land. Normally they used it for plowing of maize mills at homes. And this guy called Disrespect, his real name is Lenyajo in the book, but Lenyajo means disrespect. So this guy called Disrespect went to that feather and met two white people who wanted to do a business at their village. And the two white people gave this young man a money which is up to 200,000 converted. That money was used for the Disrespect to go across the headman's village, to go across the chiefs and give them some of that money, to bribe them in a way that when they go to a traditional council, they must agree with what he says they should do. And what he says he wants is the piece of land that is belonging to the aunt.
So this book plays a major role about corruption. The corruption that we are saying it is happening at municipalities, it's happening in government, private sectors. This book, it says corruption happens everywhere, even at a traditional village. People get bribed in order to own the access of the land. How many foreign nationals do we have today who are owning the land in South Africa? Some they even get RDPs, but they don't even have ID books in South Africa. What have happened? It is because what we call money greediness played a major role. Some will say money is the evil of them all. So in this book we are showing how the evil of them all played a major role against these people who want to assume into the position of power and economy by utilizing other peoples, by making a woman who they felt because it's a woman, they are men. They undermined that woman, they said because it's a woman. Therefore, they are going to take everything that woman possesses. Of which, the narrator of the story said as well, you cannot undermine a woman because based on the agenda, and you think like you will survive. It is not happening that when you have power and influence, you can take what other people possess. It is not happening. But in this book, what happened is that because the power of bribe is powerful than influence itself, the power of bribe is more powerful than influence, than advocacy, than lobbying. They end up giving that disrespect, lenyajo, a land that belongs to the aunt by the traditional authorities. So this book, it speaks in relation to that aspect. It is very interesting book that people should read to grasp the knowledge. We are like, oh, she we badile. Oso ntse o tsebe gore wena ngwana mmina sebata gomo. Fatlogela parala kieo. E eta e kota. E eta e tsatsanka. Bjale ka phikolo. What do you need to do going forward? We should teach people that corruption, we can correct it through kind of these books. Through storytelling, we can end corruption, because if a young person knows corruption can end, when they grow, they will literally understand that corruption can end. And I'm very much proud to say that to you. I wrote this book while I'm a member of BMF in good standing, not owing an outstanding membership. I wrote this book when I'm the national chairperson of young professionals. This should remain a history that even the people that are in leadership are able to write. This book is fictitious. It's not a researched book. It's a thought related, while the writer sat down and create all these things through his mind and put them down to produce this kind of a novel. So once you have it, you should have it. Once you have it, this book, lenwe moro wa yona o elelele ka menwana lebele la tswe mo menwaneng moro wa buku ye. This book is only 200 rand to get, and we have said in the BMF as well with the provincial chairperson that those who even can't even read, we are having an outreach program about this book. I'm announcing it today. We're having an outreach program about this book. You can buy. We're taking them to the readers, to the village people that can't even manage or have access to buy. But ours, what we're doing that is to promote culture of reading, culture of learning, culture of understanding, certain vocabularies that are written in the book in order for people to be parted and all the time be close to the languages that they come from. So that is why we're requesting people to even pledge to buy so that we can distribute them. Once we have made an agreement with the provincial office, when can we do that? So that we can have more people reading this book. The plan is to have it as well being a prescribed materials. So I'm pledging to those who are close to the Department of Education, assist the writer so that this book can be assessed and become a very proper, a prescribed book so that the learners can learn from it during their processes at school. So this is what we should be doing going forward to support the book. Yole ke tlo re pele ke tsamaya ka re nna ke nna mang ka re nna ke nna kolobe a beatladi ke nna kolobe ya bo mahlatšise ya padigwere ke rena ba re go batho ba go ba fedile re ba badile ba sa sebešong go šetše bokolo mogodu go šetše bo monna morana tšantši wa go kibakiba fase go a tsoga monola ke rena bana ba mokgekolo wa kgopano moswana mahlako ba re ga kgopa ga ba ile motho le ba go tswa mošamothana ka mafura ba mo amogela le monna go hloka itlho lete ba re ba mo amogela ke rena bana ba mokgekolo wa kgopana ba o re re go ga re ile dingwetši le ngwetši a sekobe zolo fore go ratwa ke bana ba magowa ga ke tšhabe mediti ka gore ka bonna ke moditi wa pula pula. Thank you.
No, Ralebo. Congratulations again, Captain Klasi Khopa. We're at the end. Kitlo Khopela, the Provincial Secretary, to come through. We'll be making the announcements, your favorite part. So let's give a nice round of applause as Mr. Romani is coming through. Mlanga Puma. For the best part of the day.
Thank you, Program Director. I have 2 announcements. The first one, the newly elected leadership of Mokopane, when we close here, they should come here for pictures. So that when they were elected, we realized that some of them were still in pajamas. We started too early. So now, because they are properly dressed, the cameras will take beautiful pictures too. The other one is that I've also noted, I spoke to the program director, that the curfew starts at 10. We don't seem to be observing the laws of the land. So let us observe that. And also people haven't been wearing their masks. I think they think we are in a normal environment. So I hope people will observe that as well. I can declare that I'm vaccinated 50%. I have to take my second jab on the 28th. So partly I'm vaccinated and I'll be going. I'm just showing, I've made the intention. So I will go on the 28th because it's not up to me to decide when. So I was given that date. So I think people should enjoy the food at the back there. And there is enough food for everyone who's here. So there's no need for us to rush. And when we dish, can we dish food that we will finish? We shouldn't just dish to fill up the plates that we have, because food will be thrown away at the end of the day. But if we dish properly, obviously food that will remain will still be usable. And I think I need to appreciate all of you, from the program director and everyone else who's here, our guest speakers. Thank you very much for gracing this occasion, because if you didn't pitch, we would have just been pointing each other with fingers here, blaming why you told us that you have organized people, where are they, and so forth. So we appreciate very much that you have come, and I hope Mokopane will start on a high note to make sure that these people have come and witnessed this event today. You will still take them along. Those who are not members yet, SG, please make sure that people, you heard Ms. Ese today, she was saying she has a form on a WhatsApp. So make sure that those who are not members, you must forward them the forms and make sure that they become members of the BMF. I don't want us again to come and relaunch the branch because it has collapsed and you don't have members. So you need to go out and recruit members so that Mokopane, it's on its size. It can't be that Mokopane, I'm told that it's the biggest driver of the economy in this province in terms of the mineral resources around here. It means also you've got a lot of mines, then you have a lot of managers, you have a municipality, you also have managers in the municipality. And when you don't recruit them to become members of the BMF, when they behave otherwise and take unpopular decisions, you should blame yourselves because you didn't give yourself an opportunity to go and make sure that they subscribe to the leadership character of the BMF. Thank you, Program Director.
We have come to the end. Refitile Mafello. Colleagues, I think it has been a pleasure to host you guys, Momo Kopani, for the relaunch of the branch.
Sorry, I forgot something, man. On the issue of the food, can our guests go first? And then we follow them. Thank you.
Noted, noted. As I think that really it has been quite an amazing engagement that we've had. And from this room, we've come with very serious solutions to help government performance, to stimulate the economy, and to focus on our strategic priorities within the BMF. And we're saying that the people of Mokopane, you now have a home in the BMF. I'm going to leave you with just a small extract from Frantz Fanon in his book, The Wretched of the Earth, and also Black Skin, White Masks. Now, he says that each generation must, out of relative obscurity, discover its mission. And it will either fulfill it or betray it. Now, he further goes and says, the unpreparedness of the educated classes, the lack of practical links between them and the masses of the people. Understand this. The unpreparedness of the educated classes, the lack of practical links between them and the masses of the people. Their laziness, and let it be said, their cowardice at the decisive moment of the struggle will give rise to tragic mishaps. Lenkwile, Kitswalej, tonight, none of us here will subscribe to that. You've been given the tools, the solutions, that we will no longer be either actively or passively contributing to tragic mishaps of this community and of this country. Can we please hit them up, and then we can go and enjoy our food. Have a blessed night. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, and have a great evening. The leadership, come take pictures while we're at it.
Mahola, Rufitile Nyalo, Impakacheno. Sound your mic was saying that much. Mahola. ufitileli nyalo impakateno siko nganyala bari ubuduku ubonabatu bankali nyalo Jalo kapapati ribinen riri twang 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 libode mana utwana lina twang 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 au libode wana yona wana utwana li bare kameru bagadi palagadi king 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 Kameru bagari palagari kokoro kokok itawota. Kameru bagari palagari king. Kameru bagari palagari kokoro kokok. Ewe kungakuna. Onen kondo zokuthatha into zami ugoduke. Onen kondo zobele usalwa. Ivele phezulu ndigoduke. Oh, hey, 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 mangwane, mangwane, akompulele, mangwane, akompulele, mangwane, mangwane, akompulele, mangwane. That is good. Usifake ezozweni ufaka ama-specs uzowuzwa ungumnanduku lapho. That is good. Usifake ezozweni faka ama-specs uzowuzwa umnanduku lapho. Engithanda ngalewe ugqibe ngakhona wefuthi mna ngihamba nawe. Engithanda ngalewe ujika ngakhona wefuthi mna ngihamba nawe. Webuti
Later all branch members.
All
branch members.
Webuti. But all attention, all branch members. All branch members. For the photos. Thank you. Wela. Ay, ma helela. Helela. Ay, mama helela. Helela. Ay, helela. Helela. Mama helela. Ay, Timiti utsanwa kashele ayele bari utsanwa kashele ngimunyako watimiti ayele bari munyako watimiti utsanwa kashele ayele bari utsanwa kashele ngimunyako watimiti ayele bari makhala ngabateli welele ababateli omunyako Gini makhala rabateli ololo ababateli komunyako wakimunyako watimiti ona utsenwa kashele Giri makhala ababateli we mama ababateli komunyako wakimunyako watimiti ona utsenwa ka sheleng wela welela wela welela wela welela wela welela wela welela ela welela au oh oh aele ari utano ka sheleng munyako watimiti au oh oh aele ari utano ka sheleng oke munyako watimiti ari makhala ga pateli welele aba pateli go munyako oke munyako watimiti ona utsenwa ka sheleng au ay 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 au oh oh ayele bari utsenwa ka sheleng oke munyako watimiti bari makhala ga pateli welele aba pateli go munyako oke munyako watimiti ona utsenwa ka sheleng au oh oh aele ke kopa o ntshware ka letsa o mpontshe lorato le gore ga batho no ntse mpitsa baby